Welcome back to another Mackem in the Middle podcast after another Sunderland League game and the third game in a row that we have not won. A 1-1 draw away to Accrington, a game I had the pleasure of travelling down for, which now makes it 3 away games, the last 3 away games I've been to. We haven't won and we have conceded 9, so make of that what you will. But 1-1 draw against Accrington yesterday, Michael.
Yeah.
Just a terrible result, terrible performance, just everything, all the good work that was kind of built up after the last poor run that we went on. I think it was 10 games we went unbeaten, and it just all came crashing down again.
It feels like it every time we have a quote-unquote poor run in this league, and for Sunderland, a poor run is a couple of games without a win. I don't think there's any arrogance in that. I don't think there's any big-headedness in that. I think it's just a fact of the matter. We are a team that should be going up automatically, and that's the expectation. And I think a lot of I know I say this a lot, but a lot of opposition fans are really going to have to suck it up and get used to that idea, because that's the only thing that's acceptable. Obviously, yesterday you travelled down. I was able to watch the game, and first half, I think, we'll get onto it later, but first half, apart from the early header Ross Stewart had, was dull.
Yeah.
Second half, I actually thought we were slightly the better side. I thought we controlled a lot of the game, but without really being potent. And then obviously they go down to 10 men, and it basically felt like the sequel to the Shrewsbury game, where we go 1-0 up, they go down to 10 men, and instead of being professional and competent and seeing out the win, we somehow contrive to throw away 2 points in the most laughable fashion. I think
it was exactly like the Shrewsbury game in the way that Sunderland looked like the team playing with 10 men after Accrington got the red card.
Well, do you know what? The thing, I seem to have a unique opinion on this. I felt that Accrington did not do anything once between them going down to 10 men and getting the equaliser.
I don't think they did anything in their game in general, to be honest.
Well, that's the thing. Like we were the ones that had more of the possession, but you're going to expect that against 10 men, to be fair. But I felt like it was literally just a moment. I've said this loads of times across Twitter, in group chats, whatever you like, that was just, it was a moment of pure stupidity. And it basically felt like we just gifted Accrington a late Christmas present. Guys, Christmas finished 3 weeks ago. Can we stop being so generous, please?
It's just one of them games. It's just hard to describe, I suppose, because Sunderland have a tendency, especially under Johnson, not gonna venture too much into this, but of losing one game and just draining all the confidence out of the players. Players don't want to take the risks that they have in previous games. Again, it wasn't as bad as the Lincoln game, but again, just centre backs passing to each other and not really getting us up the pitch. It's just a very weird feeling when Sunderland lose that one game or drop points in that one game, that you do become somewhat of a pessimist in the games after.
I think a lot of it, again, comes down to the fact this is our 4th season at this level. And with each season that we are in this level, the desperation to escape this level gets bigger and bigger. And we're at our 4th season in this now. Realistically, a 5th season in this league should not be considered at all. And don't get me wrong, I still don't think our top 2 hopes are done. It actually really annoyed me, the amount of people I saw, oh, that's it, we've bottled top 2. I can get it in the immediate aftermath of the game because you're venting frustration. That's fair enough. I can live with that. But what I can't live with is people saying, wait, we've got no chance. We've only took 2 points from 9. What about Rotherham? Oh, they'll definitely go up, but they only got 3 points from 9. I don't like this. It's one rule for Sunderland and a different rule for everybody else. I don't quite get that. I mean, but I know what you mean. It's just the innate pessimism, and it's hard not to do that when we have had a bad run of results. But I mean, look at the last couple of games. I mean, Wycombe, as heartbreaking as the circumstances were, I could accept a draw there because Wycombe have got a good. I think they're not bad at home themselves. They beat Oxford yesterday, so they're clearly not a bad side for this league anyway. I don't think they're particularly great football inside, but for League One, they're not bad. But they're up there. That's a game that, even though we should have won, I can tolerate drawing there. I can't for the life of me tolerate getting 1 point from Lincoln at home and Accrington away. And as I've said repeatedly, these are the results, more so than the Wycombe game, that in the past have kept us in this division. When you if you come up 9 times out of 10, if you come up against sides that are in the bottom half or sides that are mid-table, you don't mess about. You beat them. You get the win, and that's that. it's just deflating. And I think when we conceded that, I was saying to you off air that I literally apologise to my neighbours. I should apologise to my neighbours because I screamed the house down. I was that angry that we'd basically thrown the towel in and chucked away 2 points. The only saving grace was Rotherham getting beat. That was the only thing that I thought, right, okay, that's at least for the minute kept us in the top 2. But both Rotherham and Wigan play midweek, so we're not going to be second by Tuesday night. But in some ways, that makes it even worse, though, because then you look at what could have been, don't you? We should be 3 points clear of Rotherham, really, if we were half competent.
Yeah. And obviously people, after the Wickham game, after the Ipswich game, you get draws against them. People are like, oh, you've got to win them games and, we're not going to get promoted if this, that and the other. But they aren't the games that cost you promotion.
Exactly.
They're the games that if you get a point out of, you should be able to look at that as a decent point. And I think the Wickham one, immediately after the game, whenever we did the podcast, we said that is a decent point away to Wickham, tough team to play. But it's only a decent point if we go and win the next 2 games, which we didn't. And it's the Shrewsbury game down to 10 men, very poor side. Again, respect to the club, whatever, this, that and the other, but very poor footballing team, went down to 10 men, didn't get the win. Accrington, very poor team, went down to 10 men, we didn't get the win. It's them results that you need to be winning. It's them games that you need to be winning if you want to go up.
That's exactly the point I keep harping on about. And again, if you want to just look at last season alone, our record against the teams that finished the season in the bottom 5 was atrocious. That is not the Peterborough draw last season, and I'll keep repeating this, is not the reason we didn't get promoted. The reason we didn't get promoted is because the games you've mentioned, those games are the ones that you should not be dropping the points in. Because if you pick the points up against sides in the bottom half, it then means that you've got less pressure going into the games against sides around you. You could even afford to lose one of them, as much as we probably won't want to, but you can at least say, if we lose, it's not the end of the world. But because we've dropped points against the likes of, say, Accrington and Lincoln, with all due respect to those clubs, it's the typical cliche, but if you want to be in the top 2, you've got to be getting points from those results. It puts the pressure on, say, Portsmouth at home next week. And like you said, I mean, even if you take the the Accrington and Shrewsbury games out of it, Fleetwood is another one, 2-0 up. They were in. I think they were down near the bottom of the league at that point, or in the bottom third. 2-0 up, 10 minutes to go. Didn't see the game out. Again, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Fleetwood, Shrewsbury, Lincoln, and Accrington are the 4 most frustrating results for me this season.
Yeah.
The scorelines at Rotherham, Portsmouth, and Sheffield Wednesday are unacceptable, but the results themselves, if you take the scorelines out of it, I can live with because they're sides that are up there. That's probably going to happen occasionally. The scoreline's not good enough, but the results, you can. It's not unrealistic to lose those. But it's those 4 games I've just mentioned that these are the ones that if we don't get automatic promotion, we will look back at these results and say, "No, I'm sorry, these are the ones that cost us." There is loads of time left. Don't get me wrong, but we don't help ourselves with results like this.
Yeah. Well, like I said, the game was just dying out from the first minute, really. It was very boring, very poor to watch. I don't know if you saw it on the stream, but
I did, yes.
The pigeon on the pitch was genuinely the most interesting part of the first half, especially, and probably moved the most as well. It actually wanted to make challenges as well. There was a few times that pigeon was getting close to players and looked like it was going to put a tackle in, unlike a lot of our players. But we took the lead in the game. Aidan O'Brien came on in the second half, and it didn't take long for the goal. A slice of luck, wasn't a particularly well-worked goal. He had a shot deflected in the top corner. And at the time, I thought this is going to be one of them games where we don't play well. We get a little bit of luck for once, and we get the 3 points, get the goal. Was that the feeling at the time?
To me, it was. Again, I mean, there was 1 or 2. I know I've seen some people I was having debates with on social media saying that we were under the cosh all game. And me personally, I disagree with that. I don't think we were. I think that there was a couple of times that Accrington went in behind us a bit, but I thought for the most part we defended well enough. Then when the goalkeeper, when Hoffman was called upon, he saved the shots with relative ease, I thought. But yeah, it had that sort of feeling to me where and especially when they went down to 10 men, I thought, rather naively, probably thinking, surely we're not going to do another Shrewsbury. This time we've got to get the victory. And it felt like it was just going to peter out for a 1-0. Then, of course, as we'll probably touch upon, it was basically a suicidal effort that gifted them a goal. But, I suppose we want to look at it. Wigan in that situation, for instance, do they, when the opposition's down to 10 men, they probably find a way to hold on at least. So, yeah, it's just felt... And when the goal went in, it just felt very deflating completely. And from there, we didn't look like getting back in front. That's the thing that's probably arguably more annoying than conceding.
Yeah. Well, obviously, when Accrington went down 10 men, which to be honest, I don't think there's any real complaints about. The first yellow card, I'm not actually sure what it was for. I think he was arguing with the referee, must have said something, and then
I
obviously
was surprised it was the second yellow, because when he branded a yellow, I thought, oh, that's it, yellow card. What? He's off?
Yeah.
I didn't
Because I think he
expect
got booked in the
after
first
he got
half
booked.
for arguing with the referee, I think it was. And then obviously the second yellow for pulling Stewart back, which is a yellow card. And if you're already on a yellow, that is a red card. So no real questions there. But Johnson doesn't take the blame for a lot of the results, I don't think. The Lincoln one, could he do little things better here and there, change personnel, substitutes, this, that, and the other? Possibly. But, it's individual mistakes for the Lincoln game. But the one thing that I think Johnson needs to do more of is just installing like a mentality to manage the game, and that's down to the players as well, down to the leadership group as it is labelled. But 1-0 up away from home against Accrington, who they're not a very good side. That I don't think they really troubled us all game. And then we go and concede from putting the ball into the box when we didn't need to, and then
From our own corner,
from our own corner, getting losing the ball there. Most teams against us there would stand in front of the keeper, block the free kick, maybe take a yellow card, get them a free kick, get us back down the pitch and defend it. We didn't do that. And then once again, Tom Flanagan misses the ball, misses a clearance. I don't know how he's done that twice in a row now, but misses a clearance. They go through, square it, and it's 1-1. And I said it as soon as they went down to 10 men when I was with me mate in the stand. I said, this will finish 1-1. And it's a sad reality that it's even a thought in your mind when you're away at Accrington as Sunderland, they're down to 10 men. They would even consider that, but that is how it is now.
Yeah, it is. But again, this is the thing, right? For me, I've seen a lot of people pointing the blame towards Johnson. For me, Johnson barely takes, hardly any blame for yesterday, and not in the sense that he's faultless, because there have been games where I think he should be doing better for us. There's certain tactical decisions, certain substitutions, timing the substitutions, that sort of thing. He's not faultless. However, for yesterday, I can't think much more. As soon as Accrington went down to 10 men, what he could have done. Because essentially, the goal that they scored, again, it didn't come from Accrington absolutely battering us. It came from us, from our own corner, as we said before. Daniel whips a ball in, keeper's got it, and then we just allow them straight away to get a good goal kick, other end of the pitch, and square it to be 1-1. That, for me, is not on Johnson. That, for me, as much as, yes, maybe Johnson could be still instilling a mentality to see games out, we have shown in a couple of games this season, Cambridge and Plymouth spring to mind, where you're ahead by 1 goal. And in the case of Cambridge, we were leading 2-1 from like the 35th minute. In the case of Plymouth, we were leading 2-1 from, say, the hour mark. We did manage to see both games out. So for me, the players are definitely capable of doing so. But then you look at it, maybe you wonder what's happening on the pitch. It felt to me like yesterday we were so focused on trying to get the second that we forgot to defend the lead. That's how it came across to me. But I do feel that it's basic common sense for me. If you need your head coach or manager to remind you of that, then I think there's something seriously wrong there.
Yeah. I think the only other thing I would say on Johnson from the game yesterday, we made 1 sub in the game, and we still have a lot of players missing. Expected to bring some players in, I hope. But Jack Diamond was on the bench. He's probably going to go back out on loan, but it was a strange decision not to use more subs in the game when, Lyndon Gooch didn't, again, have a particularly great game. You could tell he was tiring towards the end. Sticking Jack Diamond on, he's not, the most technical footballer in the world. He's not going to, light up a game, but he'll stretch the opposition. He'll tire them out. He'll get us up the pitch. He might win a few free kicks, help us slow the game down. It was just a strange decision not to use him. And not just him, Josh Hawkes, Denver Hume, whoever. Just not using them subs was weird.
Well, if that's the case, I'll contradict what I said earlier. That is probably one thing that I do agree that Johnson possibly could have done in terms of when Accrington are down to 10 men and they're 1-0 down. They don't want to be playing against players who are going to stretch them even more, force them back, which means they're not going to get any attacks going. And it means that we should be able to comfortably see out a 1-0. So if that's the case, that's one of the things I did say. When Accrington went down to 10 men, get Diamond on. Because, I've harped on enough about how much I don't rate Lyndon Cooch. He tries his socks off, but my God, the amount of times he thinks he's Pirlo in League One does my absolute nutting. You know what? With Diamond, I agree with you. I think Diamond would have been a perfect opportunity. And that opportunity would have been a perfect sub to bring on. But, again, so you could argue it's bad game management from Johnson. But at the end of the day, but when they were down to 10 men before they scored, I thought we looked very comfortable. I just felt they were not threatening. They were sitting back in their own half. So he's probably thinking, well, okay, let's just maintain what we've got because it's clearly working. But obviously, where I don't blame Johnson again is the fact that we were so in a rush. We were naive to try and push for a second so much that we forgot to leave people backing up in case of a counter attack.
Yeah. And I think the one thing that I've said about Sunderland, especially in League One for a long time, is them just being too soft. And that is not just physically, but mentally as well. In the fact that, we are fuming when teams do it against us, but, it's little things like I mentioned, like stopping free kicks, maybe taking the yellow card or blocking the keeper off so we can't clear the ball up the pitch and get their team forward. Not necessarily taking a dive, but going down when you feel contact. There was one time when Dennis Serkin was running through, there was clear contact, and he didn't go down, ended up running out of play. If he goes down there, someone have a free kick in a very good position, and it could have been 2-0. You've got, like I said, the goal that Accrington scored, Callum Doyle just stand in front of the keeper, take the yellow card. We probably end up winning the game. It's a completely different story. It's just little things like that Sunderland need to do more of, I feel.
It's being street smart for this level, isn't it? If you look at the teams that have probably gone up, like if your Coventry's, a couple of years ago, your Rotherhams, your Hulls, they probably know how to sort of manage games and manage the little niggly things in games that can help swing it in your favour. And that's something that I don't know if this current side has been taught how to do, because we try to pride ourselves on quote unquote playing football rather than trying to resort to those things. But there does come a point where you need to adapt and need to be street smart. You need to manage games. You need to do the things that you have to do. And I remember this is our 4th season at this level. It is imperative that we get promoted. So to do that, do whatever you can to make sure you get as many wins as possible, and that will certainly help, because a lot of the teams that have beaten us have done exactly those things.
Yeah. Well, the next game is Portsmouth. Obviously, we'll get into play rating shortly, but next game's Portsmouth. Every game is essentially a must win, but after 3 games without a win, players are now coming back. Like I said, Diaku, Hoffman and Bailey Wright were all back for the game yesterday. Granted, probably not fully fit, but they'll be fit for the game against Portsmouth. We have to win. I'd take a 1-0 win with another deflected goal or whatever, but absolutely have to win that game now.
It feels a bit like, maybe not necessarily too much to the same extent for Johnson's future, but in the same extent that before Ipswich at home, that was the game that we had to win at all costs, given how bad things had gone recently. And if you look at it, our quote unquote bad run earlier in the season was basically 3 league defeats. If you take the cups out of it, which I know that a lot of people don't do, which is fair enough, but for me, if you take the cups out of it, it's 3. Based on that logic, it was 3 games without a win before. So we've had our 3 games without a win, so we'll win next week. But we know for a fine fact it doesn't work like that. But I agree with you. Portsmouth is a huge game. I do think it being at home, I think, and we all know what Portsmouth are like when they play Sunderland. They treat it like it's a cup final. I don't know why. I don't know why Portsmouth have this thing against Sunderland, but nevertheless they do. And I think it being at home, the crowd will be right up for it. The players should be right up for it. As you said, to be fair, with the fact that Diaku, Hoffman and Bailey Wright have just come back from a rest, but in Diaku and Hoffman's case, COVID, so they probably weren't at their full sharpest. Hopefully, for a game like this, well, they're going to have to be much sharper for a game like this, because if we're not, Portsmouth have the quality to punish us.
Yeah. And I think a point you made there, obviously, the cup games we had when we had the last poor run, I think that puts an emphasis on how important it is that Sunderland don't continue this bad run now, because at that point we had the cup games to kind of pad the run out a little bit. Didn't affect our season at all. Everyone would love to win the FA Cup and this, that and the other, but do we care really? Probably not. We had that advantage there that it didn't really affect our league position. But if you go on a similar run to what we did last time, granted this will now be league games and you're going to be losing points, it could become a playoff season again.
I agree. That's the thing that does concern. I'm still Johnson in, by the way, but that is something that does concern me. Where this time, if you go on a bad run, how long did the bad run last time? So if you take Charlton out of it, for instance, because we beat QPR on penalties a few days later, so you had Rotherham, Sheff Wed, and I think it was like Mansfield and Bradford, or even if you want to include Charlton, there was one win in 6.
And Oldham as well, we lost as well.
If you don't include the penalty win against QPR, if you look at just the game that's 6 without a victory, we can't afford that, because that time you had cup games to make up that bad run, as you said. and there's less league points to be lost. Whereas this time, if we lose more points, then it just means we're putting even greater emphasis on the games afterwards. And constantly throughout these last couple of months, that's the one thing I've said: we cannot afford another bad streak. I'm hoping this isn't it. You could always put a spin on it and say we've only lost 1 in 12, which you could say that, but obviously the last 3 games have not been good, to say the least. I do wonder whether it was a case of, and I don't want to make this an excuse, but it might be a factor that the Wycombe game might have took a hell of a lot out of us and we couldn't respond against Lincoln and then Accrington. I'll be very interested to see what happens next week when we've had a full week on the training ground. We haven't had a midweek game and we haven't had any distractions to it, so to speak. I don't want to, again, that sounds like an excuse, I know, but I'll be very keen to see how we play next week when we've had a full week on the training pitch and not a midweek game. But like you said, we can't afford another bad streak, because if we do, we will not. We have no chance of top 2, I'm afraid.
Yeah, there's 19 games left for Sunderland, 24 games left for Wigan. But on 51 points, our 2 points per game is obviously lower now. 3 points behind what you kind of want to be at if you're going to go up. And obviously going off that, you need around 92 points to go up, which would leave Sunderland 41 points to pick up between now and the end of the season, which I think works out at about 12 more wins out of the remaining 19 games. So there's not much margin of error now for Sunderland.
No, there's not. I think this comes down to it, though. When we have a lot of games left, I think out of the games we have left, I think we have to play Wigan, Rotherham, MK Dons, Oxford, Portsmouth. But I think once we've got those games, but those games aside, obviously the rest of the games are against teams that are in the bottom half or at highest 11th, something like that. So I think really when we come up against sides like, Bolton, for example, in a couple of weeks, Doncaster, Cheltenham, Wimbledon, Burton, those Crew, those type of games, we need to be winning them. To give ourselves the best chance, we cannot be dropping points in those games. And obviously, we talk about Wigan's games in hand, but the thing that does give me hope, doesn't mean that this will happen, but it gives me hope that in the next 6 weeks, Wigan have a game every 3 to 4 days. They don't have, the only time they have anything resembling a break is when between playing Charlton, which I think is Saturday the 12th of February, and Rotherham, Friday the 18th of February. That aside, they play every few days. My hope with Wigan, with their games in hand, is that it will take its toll on them. And we found this out ourselves. We felt the fatigue of it. Yes, we weren't good enough in the end, but we felt the fatigue of it when we had 2 or 3 games in hand. They've got 5 extra games to put into their calendar.
Still in the Cups as well, I think.
Well, I was just about to mention that. They're still in the FA Cup away at Stoke when we play Doncaster at home. So they were supposed to play Crewe at home that weekend. So granted, if they want to go up, they should be winning that. But point is, they have to rearrange that at some point in the season. So they'll have 4 games in hand that they will not be able to play until March at earliest, by which point we'll have already played Wigan again. They'll have already played, and then they have a month where they play Oxford, Sheffield, Charlton, Rotherham, Wycombe, and Sunderland. So for me, you're right, there isn't much room for error on our part, but I think next month, we need to do well, obviously, against Portsmouth and Bolton, don't get me wrong, but I think February could potentially be the month that makes or breaks our top 2 chances. When Wigan are playing a lot of those games, they will win the odd few. That's fair enough. They will. It's just a reality. But I think it's a big ask to ask them to win those games consistently when they have that quality of opposition. And that is where Sunderland need to make up the ground. So there's a long way to go, yes, but I do feel like February in particular is going to be crunch time. If we are not in a good position after we've played Wigan by the end of February, providing there's no more postponements, then I think top 2's probably gone.
Yeah. We're going to play ratings from the game, as we usually do. Probably be a little bit higher than the Lincoln game. Some of them, anyway. There might be a certain one that could be the same, mentioning no names. But Hoffman back in the team. I think you made one good save in the first half, I think it was. Had little to do with, the rest of the game. Couldn't really do anything with their goal. I'd probably just go with a standard 6.
Completely agree. I think he was solid enough, and I think the goal himself, it was just he was left no chance with it because two of our players decided to track one man, basically the exact same mistake that we did for Lincoln's third. But yeah, Hoffman himself had a steady 6.
Yeah. Billy Wright back in the team, and I do think we missed him, especially against Lincoln. But like I said, he just back one of obviously 3 players that just came back for the game yesterday. not going to be as sharp as he has been in other games. Don't think he did too much wrong. And, he's always up for like a physical challenge, wants to win his headers, likes to get the ball down and play. I don't think he did it as much yesterday as he has done in other games, but again, he's not as sharp as he could be. So I'd again probably go with 6.
I'd agree. I think Bailey Wright was by far our best defender yesterday. I think that him being back in the team, although we weren't doing much going forward, I think defensively, for the most part, we did look more solid across the game. And I think a large part of that is down to his inclusion. And I think, obviously, the main thing I do get concerned about with Bailey Wright is how many games he's fit for. But I think you notice a significant drop in defensive solidity when he's not in the side, as opposed to when he's in it. So 6.
Yeah. Tom Flanagan.
Oh,
very popular name at the moment. I'd probably go with 3. This is literally the Flanagan of the last 4 seasons. Like I said, after the Lincoln game, he's had good games this season. Granted, got praise when he deserved it, but he's been absolutely shambolic in the last few games. And again, cost us, 2 points yesterday with just a simple clearance or block or tackle or whatever you want to do. Just get the ball, kick it in some way, and he's missed it, and they've went through and scored. He did it multiple times in the first half as well. I think there was one where Doyle had to come over and, kind of pull him out of the shit a little bit and make a block. And, I think he realistically has cost us 4 points in the last 2 games. 5 points in the last 2 games when you think about it, because, Sunderland are well in that game against Lincoln until we give away that penalty and we go down to 10 men. And that completely changes the dynamic of that game. And like I said, 5 minutes to go, just misses the ball against Accrington. They go through and score. So I'd probably have to say 3.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably be a little bit more generous because I'm in the mood for that and give him a 4. But even then, I still think this is why. Actually, no, screw it. No, I take that back. I'll go for a 3. I just think this is the sort of reason why I say Bailey Wright's a much better defender, because I always feel more secure when he's in the back line. But with Flanagan, he did well at the start of the season, to be fair to him. I have to be acknowledgement of that. But at the same time, when he's at his worst, he's shocking.
Yeah.
This is why I've always been a bit reluctant to say that, give him a new deal or do whatever else, because I think, and obviously there's been rumours linking us with Aidan Flint. We don't know how true that is, given it's from Football League World or whatever it is. I don't know how creditable they are. But I think but Tom Flanagan, the point to that is that Tom Flanagan makes these stupid errors that we don't need to make. And if we keep doing that, we won't keep enough clean sheets to get promotion. So, yeah. And obviously, as you said yourself, he was at fault for he didn't make a powerful enough clearance to get rid of the ball. At that stage of the game, you just smash the ball, get rid of it, and just be a typical shithouse, no-nonsense centre-half.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 3.
You said Bailey Wright was the best defender. I'd probably go with 7 for Callum Doyle. And probably the main reason for that is he got an assist for our goal. And like I said, he had to make a possibly goal-saving block after Flanagan again missed the ball in the first half. He's very strong. He likes to go and run forward with the ball, and it's not one of these runs that, you see Flanagan sometimes make where you think, when is he going to lose the ball? Doyle can drive forward with the ball and get us forward, play that pass out wide, forward or wherever, and that's exactly what he did and got an assist for it. And he's still 18 years old, which, for how good he is now at 18 years old, is incredible. But I'd probably go with a 7 for Doyle. Like I said, partly down to the fact he got an assist.
Yeah, I'd still probably go with. Well, actually, you can't really be good 7. So yeah, again, guys, I'm contradicting myself here, so just ignore me completely. Yeah, probably a 7, just for the fact he did get the assist for O'Brien, but it was basically the type of assist that was just a straight pass to him. But it's still an assist; it doesn't really matter. I think part of the reason that he looks so composed, I think it's because Bailey Wright's next to him. But Doyle himself didn't do that much wrong. So if you have them two in a partnership at centre back, I'll be pretty comfortable with it.
Yeah. Dennis Serkin, probably again go with a 6. He had control of the ball a lot. He is good on the ball, puts some okay crosses into the box. But I don't know, there's just a thing about him that I don't know if I'm really going to put it the right way. But he just seems, I don't think lazy isn't the right word, but a little bit maybe too comfortable at times. I think that might be the right word. I'd probably go with 6 though.
I still probably would. I mean, like I said, I think despite yesterday's performance, I do think that Sirkin, I do rate a lot defensively. I think obviously going forward, he's got a good cross on him. But yesterday was just like another stand of the mill, to be honest. He did all right, but he didn't particularly do anything special. Maybe the one thing I could criticise from having just watched Accrington's goal back is that I think he could have communicated. I don't know if he did, but it doesn't look like he communicates with Dan Neil to stay with the man in the middle, whoever it was that scored. So I don't know, but yeah, I'd say a 6 for his own performance. He did all right.
Yeah. Embleton again, probably going a 6. Didn't do too much, but as he always is, quite tidy on the ball and wants to get things working, whether he's capable of doing it in that specific game or not. But he's always looking for it, so it probably again 6.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of 6s today, isn't there?
Probably.
Yeah, more than likely agree. I didn't particularly notice Embleton as much going forward, and I think I want him to start standing out in games a bit more again, because at the start of the season, again, he was. But again, 6, I thought he tried to keep the ball on the deck. He didn't try to constantly hoof ball it. So when you keep the ball on the deck and you give us a chance of doing something. So yeah, 6 again for me.
Yeah. Daniel, again, 6, I'd probably go with. Although if any Aston Villa fans are listening, I will say 1. But it didn't do too much again in the game, but did nothing wrong, did his usual, passing out wide, passing forward, some nice passes, Diaku especially, I think, covered the back four quite well, put some good challenges in. Again, probably just 6.
See, I would go slightly lower. I'll go with a 5. And the thing, and again, I like his performances in general, but there's 2 things that he did that I thought stood out to me. The first one was that he swung the ball in a bit too quickly for the goal kick for the keeper that led to the build-up with Accrington's goal. And then the second one was, again, him and Sirkin were involved in the same mistake as Lincoln. Two of our players going towards the man with the ball rather than marking who's in the centre. So I think, although I thought his performance didn't do much wrong across the whole game, those are 2 massive moments that have potentially have cost us 2 points. So I think he deserves a little bit of blame for that. But Aston Villa, actually, I'll tell you what, I'll go with a 1. Aston Villa is not worth it. Just so off.
Or Burnley. Definitely
or anybody
Burnley.
for that matter.
Yeah. Lyndon Gooch, again, put a very good cross in for Stewart in the first half, which on another day might go in and, gets us off to a good start and probably changed the game. Didn't go in and didn't change the result, obviously. But again, just very frustrating at times. And he seems a player that if you give him no time to think, he will produce. If you give him time to think, he will offer absolutely nothing. There were so many times he got the ball, he had a few seconds to think about what he was going to do. He ran out of play or ran straight into a defender. And I say he's just such a frustrating player to watch. So I'd probably go with a 5.
Yeah, bang in the middle is probably about right. Again, didn't particularly do much wrong, but I wouldn't exactly say his performance wasn't as shocking as Tuesday, but that's not a hard standard to beat, really. So I would say about a 5. Didn't do much wrong, but again, it's the typical when he tries to take everybody on that he needs. I'm amazed that he hasn't learnt this in 4 seasons, to not try and be the person who beats his man, then beats him again, then beats him again, then beats him again. His decision making has simply got to be much better.
Alex Pritchard went off at half time. I could be completely behind the curve here because I didn't listen to any interviews after the game. I went straight on a drink, which I'm certainly paying for today. But went off with what I presume was an injury. Obviously, he went off against Lincoln, and Johnson said after that game that he was playing with one. So hopefully nothing serious, but just had no impact on the game at all, to be honest, in the first half. So based on that, you'd probably be looking at, a 5, possibly a 4.
I'd probably say a 4, but just because compared to his standards that he set himself in recent months, he is capable of a lot more. I think it is worth remembering that Accrington away, as bizarre as it sounds, is a fixture that probably doesn't suit Pritchard because of how physical it is and how much because he got dominated at least 2 or 3 times by their midfielders and I didn't realise actually until watching it back how tall bastards Accrington are. They've got some tall players in their team, so I don't think it's the game for Pritchard necessarily. He got bullied. It was just too physical a game for him. But yeah, I think Johnson said afterwards that he had a little niggle and it was just about managing it, and that's why he went off at half time. But again, I might be wrong on that.
Yeah. Diaku back in the team, like I said, to about Bernie White, about Hoffman, he will lack a little bit of sharpness, and you could tell that at times. Looked dangerous when he first got the ball. got into a good position and then, squandered it pretty much every time he got into the box or got into a good position. And I think that's one thing that definitely can improve his final ball, but caused problem. I'd probably go to 6.
Agreed. I think considering he hasn't been playing for the last 2 weeks, I think he obviously, you could tell he looked a little rusty, but I just think, I know that a lot of people say that, I think I've seen some people say that Diaku's decision making is a bit questionable, but I think the difference is that Diaku's got, he's got many years on him ahead of Gooch. And I actually think, as bizarre as this sounds, and this makes no sense, I think that with Diaku, I've got more faith of something happening than I do with Gooch. And I think I think it's just a case of Diaku becoming adjusted to the league and how physical it is. So I think Diaku looked all right yesterday, but again, didn't particularly do anything special. But again, you give him that bit of leeway considering he's just come back from COVID, so 6.
Yeah. Last but not least, Ross Stewart didn't get his goal. He only had one chance in the game, really, and it was a good save from their keeper, from the header. But, as Ross Stewart does, worked hard, troubled their defenders, constantly chasing it. It was obviously him that got fouled, breaking away for the Accrington red card. Again, probably a 6.
Yeah. I think it's a sign that Ross Stewart, it's funny how Ross Stewart seems to be getting 6s even when he doesn't score, but that's because he obviously does his bit for the team. He was unlucky not to score, as we've said in the first few minutes, where the keeper produced a really good save to stop the ball bouncing at the back of the net. But yeah, Stewart did his usual Stewart thing. He brings a lot to the team, and it's just, I think we have been very lucky so far that he hasn't picked up an injury yet, which, this is why we're screaming for another striker.
Yeah. Man of the match, again, kind of like the Lincoln game. I don't really want to give it to anyone, but we didn't lose, so I'll probably give it to someone. And based off logic, I'd probably have to say Doyle.
I personally would give it to Bailey Rice, but I'd be willing to concede and say that Doyle was probably amongst the best as well. So yeah, I'll go with you, Doyle.
Yeah, fair enough. Portsmouth, Saturday, big game, big occasion, big crowd, big chance for Sunderland to get back on the right track, and a big performance needed. Predictions for that one?
Prediction: Portsmouth to be bastards.
Yeah.
We know what they're like. We've played them enough times to know what their style's like. They try to get in our faces. For some reason, again, they're always up for playing us. But my head says I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw, and I think I'm probably going to have to go with that because I just think it depends. If Sunderland are low on confidence, and I don't think there's any reason for them to be, then I think it's good. I think that might tell. But again, with a home crowd, I think I'm much more thankful this game's at home rather than away. So if we the fact we're at home, I think gives us a chance. But as you said, it is a must-win game. I think we have to address this bad run and sort of really get another win as soon as possible to sort of set us off again. It's a game. I think the crowd being on the side of the players, providing the players give us something to shout about.
Yeah.
Back there. So there's no reason we can't win the game.
Yeah, and I think I've said it multiple times, and I'll probably say it every time, but it's again one of them games that the first goal is crucial because whether for the right reasons or not, if Portsmouth go 1-0 up in the game, the atmosphere will change.
Well, and as well, not just that, but you know that every time we give a team something to hang on to, we always struggle to break them down for some reason. We haven't seemed to have learned to adapt to it. This is why I also bang on it again. That's why I bang on about keeping clean sheets because it means you don't give the opposition something to hang on to. But we like you said, it's one of those things that we cannot concede the first goal because if we concede the first goal, then obviously, as you said, the atmosphere could very quickly change and it'll play into Portsmouth's hands. So if we can roll the players on, we need to get the first goal and need to get a win. We haven't won yet in 2022, so let's hopefully it starts.
Well, I didn't actually realise that. That is quite depressing, to be honest.
Yeah.
I know we're only 16 days into the year, but...
Oh, yeah, but, like, the point is that, it is 3 games into it, but still, we need to break this duck sooner rather than later.
We do. Hopefully that is on Saturday against Portsmouth.
One thing I would point out, to be fair, if I'm being devil's advocate here, if you're going to have a blip, and I'd rather we didn't have a blip, obviously, but if you're going to have a blip, now arguably is the quote-unquote least shit time to do it because you can actually address it in the transfer window. You can address, this is where our shortcomings have been recently. Right, let's look at this type of player. I'd rather we had this blip now than we did after the window because now we can bring players in to do it. But in the transfer market, we really do need to get a move on.
Yeah, we certainly do. Just the one signing so far, isn't it? And Hume.
Basically.
Definitely need some new players to come in.
The 4, please. That'd be nice.
The 4, Aidan Flint. That's his name?
Yeah, no, Aidan Flint mid-lane. So yeah, we'll
Yeah.
get them 3 plus a bullish centre midfielder and another striker, and then we'll sort it.
Yeah, and Tom Lawrence, like I mentioned on Twitter earlier
But
today.
of course, knowing us, we try to say we need 5 players. We'll probably get 3. So.
Yeah. Return of Ashley Fletcher.
Oh God.
But anyway, appreciate you coming on again.
No, appreciate it. Thanks for having me. It's certainly not been certainly dedication talking about that.
It is, absolutely. But we'll be back to talk about the Portsmouth game, which will be on Saturday. We'll be back on Sunday to talk about it. Hopefully win. Hopefully no negatives, because I'm sick of talking about negatives this year. But hopefully we get a win there and we can start moving in the right direction again and never have to play a team that use a drum to build atmosphere ever again. That is my one wish.
You'd be surprised. I bet the Championship has a good few of those.
They probably do, but we'll wait and see, hopefully. But that is all the time we have for today. Until next time, we'll see you later.
That's all, folks.